This is Algebra 1, test number 6. Got through lesson 2.6 of Distributive Properties Study Guide. Number 1, notice a lot of these questions are the ones that keep popping up every week. We got to master these before we can move on. The product of two negative numbers is always, sometimes, or never positive. Two negative numbers, that's two of them, which is an even amount. We talked about even amounts being positive, so it's always positive. Or same signs is always positive. For every real number x, y, and z, the statement x minus y times z is equal to x times z minus y times z is always, sometimes, or never true. What's going on here is z is multiplying by x to give you zx, and z is multiplying by negative y to give you negative yz. That is always true. That is just a distributive property. Again, always true. Simplify the expression. Negative 4 minus a negative 4.3, excuse me, minus a negative 4.4. Remember, anytime you have minus a negative, it's the same thing as plus a positive. You need to multiply negative 1 times it to make it a negative times a negative. It's just like negative 4.3 plus 4.4 plus 4.6. That's the same thing as using the subtraction rule and adding the opposite. 4.3 and 4.4, these are opposite terms. So you subtract the absolute values and you get 0.1 from those two. 4.4 is the higher absolute value. It's positive, so it's a positive 0.1 plus 4.6. Now you have the same signs, both of them positive, so you add them up. 4.6 plus 0.1 becomes 4.7. The absolute value of 14 minus 13, remember, it acts like a set of a grouping symbol or like a set of parentheses. Do 14 minus 13 first and get 1. Then it's talking about the absolute value of that. Remember, that means how far away is it from 0, which is 1. Absolute value will never come out to be negative 1. 5.4 minus 5.4 minus 5.73 plus 2.7 minus 4.18. We're simplifying this expression. First off, 5.4 minus 5.4, those cancel each other out right away. They get rid of that, makes 0 right there. So those eliminate each other. That's just a faster way to do it. Then you have negative 5.73 plus 2.7. Those are opposite signs, so subtract the absolute value. 0.73 minus 0.7 is going to be 0.03, and 5 minus 2 is going to be 3. Then you keep the sign of the larger absolute value. 5.73 is larger, so it's going to be negative 3.03. It's still minus 4.18. Now those are the same signs, so you add them up. Or you could rewrite it if you have to as an addition problem, negative 3.03 plus negative 4.18. Now you're adding the opposite signs. When you add adding the same signs, you add them up simply. 8 plus 3 is 11. Carry 1. 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 2. And 4 plus 3 is 7. And you keep the common sign, negative 7.21 for that one. Number 6 says negative 0.7 times negative 8.1. A negative times a negative equals a positive. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 8 is 56. But it's not 7 times 81. It's 0.7 times 8.1. You move the decimal once for this one and twice for this one. So from here, once, twice, it's 5.67. And again, a negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 5 squared does not mean negative 5 times 2. It means negative 5 times negative 5. Again, a negative times a negative is a positive 25. Now, the difference between number 7 and number 8 is the set of parentheses. Clearly, 5 is not the same number as 10. But when you do 7, it's negative 5 times negative 5 because of the parentheses. When you do 8, it's only 10 times 10. and then the negative comes down. So 10 times 10 is actually 100, and then the negative comes down in front of it. So if you have a positive 100, make sure you make the change. That's the difference between the parentheses and not. Number 9 says 1/2 times 24m plus 24. Distribute, same thing. What is half times 24m? Or what is half of 24? It is as simple as 12m. Same thing, half times 24 again, plus 12, or half of 24. Can't put those two together, not like terms. Distributive property, again, it's just behind the negative 9 minus c. So you distribute it. Negative 1 times negative 9, and negative times a negative is a positive 9. Negative 1 times negative c. Again, a negative times a negative is a positive c. 9 plus c. (11) Evaluate negative x plus negative 4.9 when x's value is 4.5. So in place of x, now it's negative 4.5 plus negative 4.9. Same signs, both of them are negative. There's no reason, it's not going to change it here, so there's no reason to include the parentheses in case it's confusing to somebody. Same signs, add them up. 5 plus 9 is 14. Carry your 1. 4 plus 4 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. So you have 9.4, and you keep the common sign. It was negative for both of them, so it's negative 9.4. Evaluate the absolute value of negative x minus 2y. For x is 3, y is negative 4. So you have the absolute value of negative 3, and it acts like it's in parentheses just in case it makes a difference, minus 2 times y, and y's value is negative 4. Okay, so do your order of operations. Multiply first. Negative times a negative is a positive 8. So you have negative 3 plus 8. Opposite signs, subtract them. 8 minus 3 is 5. Keep the larger absolute value. 8 was positive, so it's going to be the absolute value of positive 5. And at the end, it's not going to make a difference because the absolute value of 5 is, how far is it from 0, which is 5. 13, 14, and 15 are very similar problems. It says write an algebraic expression. The product of x and 4. You got to know that product means to multiply. Okay, you could write this as x times 4. That's exactly the same thing as writing it as 4x. Both of those would be acceptable answers. 4x would be a little bit neater and a little more useful. That's it. Define a variable and write an expression. Same thing, except they don't give you x. You just come up with your own x. So negative 4 minus a number, x. Negative 4 minus a number, x. There's your expression. We keep seeing this one on every test. The quotient of 6 times a number and 4 times a number. Let's use y this time just to make it different. 6 times a number, so 6 times y. The quotient of that, remember quotient means to divide. So 6y divided by 4 is one way to write it. 6y divided by 4, or 6y divided by 4 would be just as good. And the rest will be continued on part 2.